You walk around this building and everyone is so supportive and so excited about what is happening with the Fever.
Furthermore, a statement made in Indianapolis continues to be a hot topic in the basketball community. At last, Amber Cox, general manager of the Fever, raised her voice. Additionally, her remarks on Caitlin Clark went beyond a corporate press release. Because it was clear-cut, truthful, and full of information, it portrayed a picture that most fans had never seen. Beyond what you've read in a headline, there is more to the truth about what's actually happening within that organization. This is a multi-layered story, so hold on tight. Additionally, each layer will alter your perception of Indiana in the Caitlin Clark era. Let's start at the beginning of the issue before we even discuss what Cox stated. No one could have predicted what would happen when Caitlin Clark, the first overall pick in the 2024 Wnba draft, departed the stage. The basketball community knew this. At the University of Iowa, records were broken. The most popular athlete in the history of women's sports. Millions of people watched, purchased jerseys, and purchased seats. The Fever were controlling a movement rather than merely selecting a participant. That movement was accompanied by expectations, criticism, and pressure that most franchises never encountered. The front desk employees were aware of this, but theoretical knowledge and practical experience differ greatly. In 2024, Caitlin Clark had an incredible rookie campaign. She led the league in assists per game, 8.4, and averaged 19.2 points. In both the first and ninth seasons, she managed a Fever team that had made it to the postseason. She received the Rookie of the Year award. She was chosen for the first squad of the WNBA. In addition, she broke records for jersey sales, ticket sales, and viewership. Just the Fever's jersey sales increased by 1,193% when Indiana arrived. The arenas were fully occupied. Primetime slots were being cleared by networks. It was unprecedented in women's basketball. Tucked away in the locker room amid all of this pandemonium was a 22-year-old young man attempting to learn how to manage a professional team while taking on the obligations of an entire sport. Caitlin Clark, but an unanticipated event put everything at risk. Everything was meant to come together for the 2025 season. Stephanie White, the new coach, put a new defensive strategy into action. They brought in veterans. There were more players on the roster. Expectations were pretty high. But on nearly the first day of the season, the injury bug started to bite. Caitlin Clark also experienced a left quad injury in May. A left groin injury occurred in June, and the wound didn't even heal. Then, on July 15th, just as she was preparing to return, she sustained a right groin injury. And with that one, it was all over. Game after game, she was spotted on the sidelines dressed in street clothes. Supporters were upset. Loud critics were present. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 83% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So, did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now, back to the video. Rumors concerning her health, the team's communication, and the actual state of affairs at Gainbridge Fieldhouse were prevalent on every imaginable platform. Then there came the September 4th social media post that caused everyone in the basketball community stop scrolling. It was verified by Caitlin Clark that she was finished for the year. "Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling," she answered. The season had ended. She had only participated in 13 games. The general manager of the Fever was going to say something considerably more significant than most people thought, but at the time, nobody was paying enough attention to this. As she took the microphone, Amber Cox didn't hold back. She clarified that Caitlin Clark had fulfilled every prerequisite for being permitted to reappear in that court. In exit interviews with the crew, Cox stated, "No one worked harder than Caitlin." An executive defending the brand wouldn't say things like, "Nobody wanted to be out on the court more than Caitlin." Those are the words of someone who has witnessed a player fail due to no fault of her own and battle through rehabilitation on a daily basis. According to Cox's official written statement, Clark sought to make a return by working out for hours every day. She went on, "There simply wasn't enough time left in the season for her to safely return." Amber Cox made it clear that long-term health will always take precedence over a risky comeback, saying, "So, the organization decided to shut her down. But the injuries have nothing to do with Cox's most inflammatory statement. It was about the future. At this point, things start to become interesting. Cox did not hedge when reporters questioned him about the future. Refrained from using ambiguous language while discussing potential or possibilities. She gave them a direct look and expressed her belief that when Caitlin Clark returned in 2026, they would witness her reach new heights. It's unimaginable to even imagine what Cox said. I think we're going to see another level. Consider for a moment that during an injury-plagued 2025 season, this player averaged 16 points, 5 assists, and 8 points a game in just 13 games. He was chosen for the All-Star team for the second consecutive year. She dominated the national conversation about women's basketball despite just playing a little part of the season. Furthermore, the team leader asserts that she hasn't even handled a brand new piece of equipment. It's not a statement for public relations. It should be noted by the rest of the WNBA. But it wasn't just Caitlin Clark's talent that gave Amber Cox more self-assurance. She also revealed another facet of Clark's management of her sidelines time. This is the part of the story that distinguishes Clark from the others. When they are injured and unable to compete, most elite athletes go dark. They can occasionally be seen at games. They wave to the audience before disappearing into the training area. That wasn't done by Caitlin Clark. And while she was out due to injury, Clark was on that plane for all of the Fever's road trips. She was vocal, involved, and dedicated while supporting teammates in real time despite sitting on the bench during every game. Cox described her as an excellent friend and leader at a time when most athletes would have quietly accepted a reduced role. Kelsey Mitchell, who took on the offensive load while Caitlin Clark was sidelined and scored a career-high 22 points per game, acknowledged the resentment over Clark's timing in a podcast interview, but emphasized that bringing her back at 100% was always the best course of action. Kelsey Mitchell stated, "I've had a lot of injuries because I'm a person who's had 11 surgeries. I see things differently now that I have that perspective." It was no coincidence that Clark's influence was altering the squad's operations despite his incapacitation. The more you look around the Fever's locker room, the more you realize that they have a genuine chemistry that no front office can match. Teammates talked about the Tracy Leaches, a close-knit group that included Clark, Lexi Hull, and Sophie Cunningham. Players discussed Clark's pre-game routines with Aaliyah Boston even as they watched from the bench. When asked about the culture for the 2025 season began, Kelly Krauskopf, president of the Fever, said that the young core had made one specific request. They objected to the front office pursuing a major celebrity signing. They wanted their locker room to be secure. The players' exact words were, "Protect the culture that we've started." You see, a team that is crumbling inside doesn't speak like that. That is the rhetoric of a group that knows what they have and does not want it altered. But not everyone has been ready to accept them. And because of the scandal surrounding this locker room, everything was in danger of collapsing before it had a chance to breathe. If you were watching the WNBA in late 2024, you remember the moment Cheryl Swoops lit a match on Gil's Arena. The Hall of Famer intimated that players were uncomfortable with Caitlin Clark's attention and said that there was a great deal of strife within the Indiana Fever group. Swoops said, "There's a lot of other stuff going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be." On the internet, the claim swiftly gained popularity. It was one of the most talked about stories in women's basketball for weeks, complete with debates, screenshots, and opinions. There was just one problem. When asked about the specifics, Cheryl Swoops admitted she wasn't in the locker room. There was no evidence. No player co-signed the story. During a different March Madness show in April 2025, Caitlin Clark directly addressed the rumors while seated with Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi. "The folks within that facility were the only ones who truly knew the reality," she stated, recognizing that people tend to assume they are aware of what occurs behind closed doors. She implied that the commotion had less to do with anything happening in Indiana, and more to do with those who were successful. Then, in 2025, the Indiana Fever's on-court performance in the absence of their idol was more powerful than any news conference. Think about what Indiana accomplished over the season without Caitlin Clark. They won the WNBA Commissioner's Cup for the first time in team history. They defeated the Atlanta Dream in the first round of the playoffs. They defeated the Las Vegas Aces, one of the most prestigious teams in the WNBA, in overtime after advancing to a winner-take-all Game 5 in the semifinals. Their first trip to the WNBA championships in over a decade was just one win away. All of that without their most important player. On every bench and sidelines, Clark was yelling encouragement, assigning defensive tasks, and celebrating each basket as though she had made it herself. Amber Cox's evaluation of her leadership wasn't just favorable. It was accurate. The numbers, results, and spirit of that run all indicated a franchise that had internalized it, even if Clark was unable to demonstrate her intensity on the court. Things start to become serious at this point because the Indiana Fever, led by Amber Cox, are hoping for more than simply a comeback season in 2026. They are hoping for a possible dynasty. The lengthy negotiations between the WNBA and the Players Union, which lasted more than a year before being resolved in early 2026, caused the whole off-season to be compressed into a few weeks. The Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo, two new teams, had their league rosters changed by expansion drafts. Despite the Fever losing 2 players in the process, Cox maintained his composure. Her message was consistent from the season's conclusion to every roster change that followed. Keeping Kelsey Mitchell in a Fever uniform is their first objective. "I'm going to sound like a broken record from last year," Cox told reporters. Keeping Kelsey Mitchell in a Fever jersey will be the top focus. With Mitchell back in the running and contracts already in place for Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, Indiana will have the most complete core in the league heading into the 2017 season. Even so, the basketball community didn't recoil because of the headline. When Caitlin Clark made an appearance as a special contributor on Basketball Night in America with legends like Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady, even Amber Cox was overjoyed. Cox wrote on social media, "This will be very insightful and entertaining. It comes easy to me to tuck CC." NBC executive producer Sam Flood described Clark as the most renowned figure in basketball, not collegiate or women's basketball. Stop completely. Clark is now working on such platform even before the May 8th start of the 2026 WNBA season. Furthermore, when asked about the Fever's chances of winning the championship on that NBC platform, Clark answered right away. "I think we're going to be the favorite to win it all," she said. The media had little influence on that reaction. "It adds a little pressure in my opinion, but that's what you enjoy about it. But our coach, support staff and team are all outstanding. I'm very excited." That individual had been silently developing and simmering in desire while watching from the sidelines for an entire season, and now she was ready to release everything she had been holding inside. And Cox's confidence in that Caitlin Clark's appearance? This is why the entire scenario worries the rest of the WNBA. This is what the whole image tells you when you stand back and look at it clearly. Amber Cox didn't just speak up to calm her fans' fears or handle the bad press after a lackluster season. She spoke up because she has personally witnessed what this player is capable of, experienced the chaos of the spotlight, handled the rumors and controversy, maintained unity in the locker room when injuries came from all directions, and came away from the experience more convinced than ever that Caitlin Clark hasn't yet realized her full potential. The teammates have seen it. The coach has said as much. The GM has confirmed it. The only issue left is whether the rest of the WNBA is truly ready for what is about to happen when the team enters the 2026 season with a deeper roster, genuine hunger, and a full year of adversity to refine them into something more dangerous and tough. Because if Amber Cox is right, as the evidence suggests, the version of Caitlin Clark that shows up in May 2026 won't look like anything the league has ever seen. Additionally, the teams that have been doubtful of this team for the previous year might want to carefully assess if they are prepared for what it actually involves. A remark made in Indianapolis has generated a lot of discussion among the basketball world. The Fever's general manager, Amber Cox, finally spoke up. Her comments about Caitlin Clark also went beyond a corporate press release. It painted a picture that most fans have never seen because it was straightforward, honest, and packed with facts. There is more to the reality about what's truly going on within that company than what you've read in a headline. Hold on, for this is a multi-layered tale that will change the way you think about Indiana during the Caitlin Clark era. Before we even talk about what Cox said, let's go back to the beginning of this whole problem. When Caitlin Clark, the first overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, left the stage, nobody could have foreseen what would unfold. The basketball community was well aware. Millions of people bought tickets and jerseys, and the most popular athlete in women's sports history broke attendance records at Iowa. Instead of just choosing a player, the Fever were taking control of a movement. Expectations, criticism, and pressure that most franchises never experienced came along with that movement. The front desk staff was aware of this, but understanding something in theory is not the same as really experiencing it. Clark had a fantastic rookie season in 2024. With an average of 19.2 points per game, she led the league. To ensure you don't miss anything, please leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on all alerts. Once you click the video on the screen, we'll see you in the next one. Please share your thoughts in the comment section, subscribe, and enable all notifications so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.